Welcome back to Tell Me More Stories Told Us podcast. I'm your host, and today we're going to get into a pretty crazy story.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Have you ever heard of the Bermuda Triangle?
Oh, yeah, who hasn't?
Right.
Place where things just vanish.
Yeah, it's like this area of the Atlantic Ocean where ships and planes, they just disappear, and no one knows why.
Yeah, a lot of theories, though.
Oh, yeah, tons of theories.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about one of the most famous incidents linked to the Bermuda Triangle, the disappearance of Flight 19.
December 5th, 1945.
5 TBF Avenger torpedo bombers.
A whole flight.
Yeah, they took off from Naval Air Station, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It was supposed to be a routine training exercise.
Routine. It's always routine.
Right, until it's not.
Yeah.
They called this training exercise Navigation Problem Number 1.
Catchy.
It was a combination of navigation and bombing practice. And there's this weird thing about this flight, okay? Every single plane was missing its clock.
No way.
Hey.
Seriously.
Right.
Missing their clocks. How do you even do navigation training without clocks?
That's what I was thinking. Like, how is that even possible?
Well, back then, pilots relied a lot on what they called dead reckoning.
Dead reckoning.
Yeah, they'd use their speed, their heading, and the time that had passed to figure out their position, like where they were.
Okay, so if you don't have a clock.
Well, that makes dead reckoning a lot harder.
Right.
Especially over long distances.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, they would have had their own watches, though, right?
Yeah, you'd think so.
Right.
So Flight 19 is up in the air, no clocks. Everything seems normal at first.
At first.
They head east towards this place called Hens and Chickens Shoals.
Which is basically like a bunch of shallow reefs in the Bahamas.
Oh, okay.
They did their bombing practice there. Everything seemed fine.
And
then things got weird.
Yeah, things took a turn. You start to see this growing sense of confusion in the radio transmissions from the pilots.
Yeah.
Like they can't agree on where they are or how to get back on track.
This is the thing that always gets me, though. It's not like these were rookie pilots. We're talking about experienced guys. The flight leader, Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor, he knew what he was doing. He had tons of experience. But even he started reporting that his compasses weren't working right.
So you're out over the ocean. Your compasses are messed up. You're starting to lose your bearings. I can't even imagine.
Oh, and the weather starts getting worse.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Talk about pressure.
Right. Like one little mistake and it's all over.
Exactly. And they're using dead reckoning, which means any mistake with their timekeeping plus the compass problems could throw off their whole navigation, like trying to do math with the wrong numbers.
So what happened? Did anyone try to help them?
Well, another instructor, Lieutenant Cox, he was up in the air too with his own group of student pilots. He heard Flight 19's radio calls. They were getting more and more frantic.
Oh, man.
So he tried to guide them back. But it seemed like they were just too disoriented to understand what he was telling them.
So they're lost. Their compasses are messed up. The weather's bad. What do?
Taylor, he thought they were over the Florida Keys, so he decided to fly north. He figured that would take them back to the mainland.
Did it?
Well, the thing is, he wasn't over the Florida Keys. He was way further east over the Bahamas.
Oh, no.
So flying north just took them further out to sea.
That's terrible. So close to land, but heading in the wrong direction.
And then the last transmission from Flight 19, it's chilling. Their fuel was running low, and Taylor told his flight to ditch together when they couldn't stay in the air anymore.
And that was it.
That was the last anyone ever heard from them.
It's crazy to think that something that started out as a routine training mission could end like that.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if those clocks hadn't been missing, if things might have turned out differently.
Yeah, if only we could go back and change things. But we can't. All we can do is learn from what happened and hope that something like this never happens again. The disappearance of Flight 19. It really shook things up. It was huge news.
Yeah, I bet. Everyone must have been trying to figure out what happened.
Oh, totally. The Navy, they launched this massive investigation. Like, they had to get to the bottom of it.
So what did they find out?
Well, their first report, they blamed Lieutenant Taylor. They said he got disoriented and made a bunch of navigation errors, and that's what led the flight out to sea.
So they're saying it was his fault.
Pretty much. But remember Taylor's mom? She wasn't having any of it.
Really?
Oh, yeah. She was like, no way my son was a great pilot. This wasn't his fault. She kept pushing back. Pointing out the compass problems, the missing clocks, the bad weather.
That makes sense. Those are pretty big factors.
Right. And the Navy, they actually listened to her. They ended up changing their report.
They did?
Yeah. They changed the cause of the disappearance from pilot error to cause unknown.
Wow. So they admitted they didn't really know what happened.
Exactly. It's a complex case. Even with all the evidence, they just couldn't say for sure what happened to Flight 19.
It's like a mystery that just won't go away.
Right. And to make things even more mysterious, they never found the wreckage.
Seriously. They never found the planes.
Nope. Despite all the searches over the years, nothing.
You'd think with all the technology we have now, sonar, underwater exploration, they'd be able to find something.
You'd think so, right? But it's like the Bermuda Triangle just swallowed them up without a trace.
It's kind of creepy when you think about it.
There have been a few people who claim they found the wreckage, over the years, but none of those claims ever panned out.
So it's still a mystery.
Still a mystery.
This is wild. So is the Bermuda Triangle really this, vortex that sucks things in? Or is there a more logical explanation?
Well, the Bermuda Triangle, it's got this reputation, for unexplained disappearances, strange magnetic stuff. Some people even talk about time warps and underwater aliens.
Okay, maybe aliens are a little far-fetched.
Maybe. But even if you stick to the facts, the fact that we don't have a clear answer for what happened to Flight 19, it's pretty intriguing.
It makes you wonder if there's something else going on, something we don't understand.
It does. And that's what keeps people so fascinated by this story, They want to figure it out, solve the puzzle.
It's like one of those old adventure stories, explorers sailing into uncharted waters, facing all these unknown dangers, maybe never coming back.
It's like Flight 19. They set off on a normal mission and stumbled right into a real-life mystery.
And it's a mystery that we're still talking about all these years later. By the way, have you hit that subscribe button yet?
Make sure you do. You don't want to miss the rest of this.
We'll be back with more on Flight 19 and some theories about what might have happened to those 5 Avengers. So we've talked about the compasses, the weather, the whole dead reckoning thing, but there's still this one thing that I can't get over. Those missing clocks.
Yeah, the missing clocks. It's such a strange detail, but when you think about it, time was super important for dead reckoning, so maybe it wasn't so insignificant after all.
Right. Imagine you're Lieutenant Taylor. You're already dealing with bad compasses and bad weather.
Yeah.
Then you realize your time estimates might be off too. That's got to be stressful.
Yeah, totally. Even a small mistake with their time could have thrown them way off course. Imagine trying to follow a recipe, but you forget to set the timer. Things can go wrong fast.
So we've got the compasses, the weather, the dead reckoning, and the missing clocks. It's like everything that could go wrong did go wrong. But is there anything else that could explain what happened to Flight 19? Are there any other theories out there?
Well, some people think that maybe there were changes in the Earth's magnetic field, and that messed with the compasses.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then there's the rogue wave theory. Have you ever heard of those?
I think so.
There are these massive waves that can just appear out of nowhere. They can be huge, big enough to sink a ship.
Really? Wow.
So some people think maybe Flight 19 ran into one of those.
That's scary.
There are even more out there theories, too. Some people think there might be underwater methane eruptions in the Bermuda Triangle.
Methane eruptions.
Yeah, giant bubbles of methane gas that rise up from the ocean floor. And if a ship or a plane goes through one of those, it could just sink or crash.
I've never heard that one before.
It's a theory. But even with all these theories, we still don't know for sure what happened to Flight 19. It's like a puzzle with missing pieces.
We can try to put it together, but we might never have the full picture.
And that's part of what makes this story so fascinating. It's a reminder that there are still things we don't understand about the world.
Thinking about all this, it makes me think about the families of those airmen. They must have been going through so much, not knowing what happened.
It's true. These mysteries, they involve real people. Real lives lost.
So what's the takeaway from all this?
Yeah.
We've looked at the facts, the theories, the unknown. What have we learned?
Well, for me, it's a reminder that we don't know everything, And sometimes, despite our best efforts, there are just things we may never fully understand.
That's a good point. And maybe that's okay. Maybe the mystery is part of what makes life interesting. It keeps us curious. It makes us want to explore and learn.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe someday we'll find new evidence or develop new technology that helps us solve the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle.
That would be amazing. But until then, the story of Flight 19 will continue to fascinate and inspire. It's a story about the power of mystery and our desire to understand the unknown. Thanks for joining us on this journey. And remember, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and never lose your sense of wonder.
Well said. Keep telling the stories that matter.
And until next time, keep exploring.